All right, everyone. I'm gonna try to do a. Let's see if this one's any shorter video today. As you know, Filson just dropped their 2 new Packer coats, which is kind of a surprise. I haven't seen a drop with 2 colors at the same time that I remember. Usually, it's 1 new colorway per year, so they kind of went a little above and beyond this year, I think, and they came out with that solid color navy drop and then a plaid drop, which has a lot of similarities to this plaid, which I believe this was from 2021, my original Packer coat. So what I want to do today is talk a little bit about, again, my overall experience with this coat at a high level, and then talk about minor things that I've noticed that have changed between 2021, I believe, and then 2024, which this is last year's colorway. So this one, I believe is a, I don't remember the name, rust gray plaid check something. And as I talked about on my last video, this is probably my most worn jacket. Definitely since I've got it, this has been my go-to winter coat for a lot of things. I did talk a little bit about how the weather wool all around jacket's kind of upstaging this guy a little bit, but still I just absolutely love this coat. A little sentimental attachment because my wife searched store to store. She was calling because this was a post-pandemic. There was a real supply issues. This sold out almost immediately. So she called store to store to find this bad boy for me, and I'm really, really happy about it. Last year, I don't think sourcing was quite as difficult to get this, but again, my wife gave me this as a gift last year for Christmas, and I love this one as well for some different reasons. So I'll go through that. But yeah, all in all, I am a, Packer coat fan. There's been a lot of debate and discussion about, is Filson going off the rails, or, have they lost it? And I'll say things have changed. But there's still some standout products that makes Filson Filson. And I think the Packer coat and, their wool products to some degree, their tin products, and things that you can get on sale are still, really, really interesting and worth taking a look at anyway. You can't complain about the classic design, the legacy of the brand, and for pieces like this, the Packer, their Mackinac wool cruisers, tin coats, etc. They've done a good job staying true to their original brand promise. All my interactions with Filson have been positive. I haven't ever had a piece that was defective to the point where I had to send it back, besides maybe a sizing thing, which I just switched sizes. And I'll get into all of my other Filson stuff in some future videos. I've got a whole lot of other pieces that I'll talk about in the future when we have a slow week. But I wanted to focus on Packer coats this week because they just had their drop, and I've seen a lot of conversations about Packers. So I was like, what's really changed, over the last couple years? And the first thing that I'll mention is the price. The price has definitely changed a lot. This one, I believe when we bought it, it was in the $7.95 range. So not cheap, but still not like it is today. So $7.95 in 2021. This sold for $9.75 retail in 2024, and the 2025 drops have just been put out there, 1,200. So we went from $7.95 to $9.75 to 1,200. So if you think 800, 1,200, that's 50%, 50% price increase. It's feeling a little steep, not gonna lie. It really would make me think in the future about looking at the secondary market, some older ones, or just hope that they go on sale, which they do typically, though you can't guarantee you're going to get the size you want. But you could always call stores, because stores have their own stock that is independent from the website. And just like what Jess did with this one, she called around and found a store that had it, and they ship it for free in the same way as if you order it on the website. Especially if you already have an account, then you just say, this is my account, and they hook you up, and then you got a coat. So I would recommend, the coat if you're kind of in for this. So the funny thing is, with this coat, if you look at the marketing, it is, you know, cowboys riding around on horses and stuff. And I'll say, I have actually taken this coat horseback riding, and it is highly functional for that activity. The biggest thing, you know, I didn't talk about this at all in my last video, is it's got this gusset back here. So while it's a long coat, it in some regard wears like a trucker or a short coat. When you're on a horse, your legs can kind of splay out over the horse because this gusset opens up. So I think that that's a really innovative feature that is unique to this coat with Filson, and generally, you know, I found it to be quite effective on a horse. You know, again, I could imagine, and I'm not a professional horseback rider. I've done it recreationally a few times with some friends. Shout out to Helderberg and Christy, my friend. You know, again, I think that this heavy wool would be highly performant out doing those kinds of things. You know, wool is the original soft shell, and this packer coat, you know, well suited for that. So, my take on the colorways. Almost all the time, I do still go with this one, just because it's more of my style. You know, I wear blue jeans a lot and things like that. So, this kind of goes generally with more of my outfits, frankly. But this one is my favorite to wear around the holidays. You know, it is a red and green check, so it kind of has that little holiday vibe to it. Also, you know, I do really like this brown shearling versus the white shearling for that. You know, so if you want more of a, you know, nice holiday kind of thing, which, you know, goes well with some stuff, I do like this coat a lot. If I want a little bit more pop, go with the white shearling collar, traditional one. So otherwise, you know, they're functionally identical coats, but I'm going to pick on a couple differences just so you know what's changed and is it significant enough to be a concern. And my answer to that is, I don't think there's any concerning changes, except for maybe one thing, which I'll say first. The actual wool has changed. Now, it's not worse, but it is different. And here's how I would describe it. The 2021 wool is you're traditional when you think about your grandfather's wool. It's that rough, tough, dense, and thick wool. Or not thick, sorry, dense and kind of like wears like iron. I feel like it could really take some abrasion well, and, you know, be a little bit just forgiving for actually working out in the field. So this wool when I first got the coat, my first impression was, this is not as scratchy as the old wool, and it's not. It is softer than the 2021. If I were to, you know, the completely subjective wool softness scale, if you had 2019 down here at the pretty scratchy, and you definitely don't want it against your skin, fiberglass insulation is like down here. So 2019 wool, then we'd have the 2024 wool. You know, I would call it incrementally less scratchy, and you can tell. And then up here you've got weather wool, which is like, you can have it along your skin all day. I think that if this were on your bare skin, it would still be scratchy, but it would be a lot more bearable than this. But as you know, if you're watching this video and looking at packer coats and thinking about them, they're fully lined. So you've got the Alaska Guide fabric flannel, and then they've got the nylon in the sleeves. It doesn't really matter if the wool is softer or not, because you're not really gonna feel it too much. The shearling to the shearling, you know, again, they're both soft and amazing, and I can't say highly enough how much I love having the shearling collars, because they just feel so nice and they just make you feel really warm. But this wool is definitely different, and if I said what's the downside, I've noticed, again, softness differences and windproof differences. The scratchier wool is, I would say, just a little bit more wind resistant than the softer wool. The other thing that I would say, because this wool, I mean, again, I haven't battle tested this, but it just doesn't quite feel like it would handle a lot of rough usage as well as the old one. That's subjective, just kind of feeling the fabric, because it is a little, it's funny, it's thicker, but it's less dense. And I think it would be more prone to pilling or snags or abrasion because it's not woven as densely. Again, I don't know, I'm not an expert, but I just, I'm saying they are making changes, and I've done a little bit of research. Allegedly, this is Pendleton wool, and they switched to some Italian mill, is what I read. Now, I'm not saying it's bad wool, because this is thick, it's robust, it's nice wool, it's softer, it feels great, but it's different than Pendleton. Pendleton is a classic staple wool. This is something, it's different. So if I look at the labels, we've got, kind of your traditional Filson label, CC Filson Co., Seattle, Washington, made in USA of imported materials, XL. This one, basically the same, although it says made in USA and then parentheses of imported materials. So slight wording change, otherwise I think functionally the same. The care tags, I didn't actually look at this one. Let's see. Made in USA of imported material. Shell 100% virgin wool. Collar 100% sheepskin shearling from New Zealand or Australia. Body liner 100% cotton. Sleeve liner 100% polyester, exclusive of trims. Dry clean only. And this tag, I read that before. It's the same. New Zealand, Australia, sheep, imported materials, but all the rest. So buttons, the main buttons, I haven't seen a difference. They look like the same kind of, I don't know if these are bone or antler buttons, but they definitely look like them, and they both give you, the spare in the same spot. The pattern, let's go to snaps first. Snaps, these ones are more of a black painted. These are more of an aged brass. I actually like the aged brass more. Black painted does go, color-wise looks good with the wool, but painted stuff, I feel like the patina gets worse with time, but the aged brass, the patina gets better with time. We talk about the cut. There's two things that jumped out at me first time I put this coat on. Number one, the sleeves are smaller. So, when you put your arm in, you just I can feel a little bit more resistance. So it actually, if you're doing a lot of cold stuff, I could actually see this being warmer because there's just not as much air coming through. And I also noticed that there's a little bit more gap between the inner and the outer sleeves, which, again, is an aesthetic thing. I don't think it affects the performance. And a tiny, tiny change, this could just be like who sewed it. The pocket holes are about a ½ an inch smaller here than here. So I've noticed if I have light gloves on, my hands fit in here easily. If I have light gloves on, my hands it's just a little tougher. Again, I'm nitpicking because that's the point of this video. I looked over all the stitching to try to figure out are there any major differences? And I only noticed one. So if I flip the coat around, and same thing, and it might be hard to show on camera, this top seam has like some kind of just like rib type stitch. I don't know what it's called. I should probably learn because I'm talking about clothes, which is the same rib stitch that's down here along the bottom. This coat, the 2019, has a rib stitch, I'm just gonna call it that for now, along the bottom. But when I look underneath the back, it's actually got a double stitch that goes around. I don't really foresee, a performance difference between the two. I think probably just the tooling was different when they made them. Again, I don't functionally see that much of a difference. And was there a difference there? Nope. Again, the gusset are made the same way. One thing I did look for when I was going through it earlier, do they have the same bar tacks in all the same places? And the answer is, as far as I could tell, they do. I think the 2019, they use slightly longer bar tacks, but again, I don't think it's enough to make a big difference. The leather is the same. No changes there. You know, generally speaking, I think that they basically stuck to the formula, except for those minor differences of the cut and the, you know, the wool change. So, you know, again, I don't really think there's been a concerning change or a loss of quality between the new one. I just think it's more of a decision. Are you really going to be putting this through the paces in the field where a slightly more abrasion resistant wool and, you know, maybe a little tighter weave would be helpful? I think if there's a difference, it's going to be minor from a performance perspective. This does feel nicer, you know, again, because it's soft, a little softer. Do you like the colors? I do really like these colors, although I have a yellow dog and a yellow cat, so this darker colorway is like a magnet for fur. Yeah, I'll put it on just to show it off for a minute. So, you know, again, I still love these coats. Make me feel good every time I wear one. I don't know how else to say it. Like, the first time I read a review on the Packer coat, they say, you don't wear a Packer coat, the Packer coat wears you. And I can kind of feel it. Like, you wear one of these jackets and, you know, it's like just different than what most people wear around town. So, you know, it is a little bit of a statement piece, but, you know, again, it's so functional. And because it's wool, you know, it's not like has to be Arctic conditions to wear this. I will wear this coat anytime it's under 40. If it's a little windy, you know, I pop the collar and close that up. Don't need a scarf. You know, I've worn it down into lower temperatures, and the XL for me, it's actually like on the bigger side. And, you know, I did read Filson does a lot of vanity sizing, so like I'm more like a 2XL in some other brands. XL and Filson's good. I can still layer underneath this quite a bit, and if it is really cold, like I will definitely want to layer under here, because I feel like there are still areas where it's single wool in the you know, main body of it, so you want to layer up a little bit. But again, I like these coats a lot. I wish they weren't so expensive now, because I think everybody should have one. And you know, that's kind of my take. Like, great jackets. Am I gonna buy one of the new ones? I mean, functionally the answer is no. I already have two. I might find myself paring down to one at some point and have to make a really hard decision, but for now, you know, I'm gonna have two for kind of matching whatever I'm doing. And, you know, again, the holiday theme, this one is nice. And, you know, again, I'll kind of see how things go. So yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts on how are the new colors. What if you're buying one this year, what colorway are you buying? How do you feel about the price change? I do wonder if tariffs are a part of that. And again, I'm not like trying to be political, but functionally, like, if this is made out of imported wool now, there's tariffs and all that stuff. Does that add directly to the cost? I think it could. I've seen it happen with coffee. I buy a lot of coffee. So maybe that's a part of it. I don't know. Or Filson is realizing like they sell out every year because these are a signature piece of theirs, and they can get away with charging more, in which case they're just maximizing shareholder value. And again, I know there's a lot of debate and discussion about that, but if I was going to own a Filson coat, it would be a toss-up. I mean, it would be a Packer coat. Originally, I was like toss-up between a tin coat and a Packer coat, but there's so many great waxed canvas alternatives out there. Oh, one other question. I'm interested to know. So for Filson, I wanted to do like a vest review because I'm no less than 10 Filson vests. So I was thinking about doing a video about that. I do want to do just a quick shirt jack, which I just got and been wearing that a lot actually. So I've got some new Filson stuff to talk about in the near future, still going through my backlog. So anyway, yeah, if you have specific things that you're like, oh, I want to talk about that, then let me know. And you know, again, I'm still like dabbling in, should I do content for other things that I'm passionate about, like tools, and you know, like, should I do a video about why the Estwing hammer is the best one? And if you're wondering why this one's brand new, it's because I've bought multiple of these for different spots. So interested in that kind of thing, but we'll see. So anyway, yeah, have a great day, and thanks for watching. Boop.